Sherlock Holmes, in my mind, has come to define what it means to apply the scientific method to thinking, what it means to really take these principles of experimentation and apply them logically to your thoughts so that you can become the best decision maker, the most rational decision maker that you could possibly be. I'd like to begin with Holmes's metaphor for the human mind, the brain attic. It's Holmes's analogy for the brain, for how we store information, how we process information, and ultimately how we are able to retrieve that information. And Holmes likes to tell Watson that it's a foolish man who puts all sorts of lumber up in his attic. Instead, we should take care that we know exactly what is going into our mind attic. So we should be mindful about just what memories we're encoding and how we're encoding them. So if something is important enough to remember, if we want it in our brain, because we should remember that everything that will be in our mind attic will actually influence how we think and how we act. The one difference, obviously, between a physical attic and our brain is that our brain attic is much more flexible. It's less finite, it can grow bigger. So with practice, we can become much more efficient at storing information, and there's really no limit to how much we can store. The other place that the attic analogy is not entirely accurate is that our memories aren't accurate. Our memories change. Our memories are often very fallible. And interestingly, the more we access them, the more likely they are to become incorrect, because every single time we access a memory, we encode new information into that memory from the moment that we were accessing it. So there's really the Watsonian attic. There's Dr. Watson on the left-hand side, and there's the Sherlockian attic. So we can think in the Sherlock Holmes system, which is what Daniel Kahneman would call System 2. But really, it predates even Kahneman. It was originally in the 1990s from the work of Walter Mischel and Janet Metcalfe called the hot system and the cool system. Sherlock Holmes would be the cool system. Watson would be the hot system. When you encode things into your attic in the hot system, that's when you get the jumble. This is reflexive. It's not very mindful. But when you're encoding in the system Holmes, in the cool system, you're being more reflective, you're being more mindful, and you're really creating the attic to the best of your ability. Observation. The difference between seeing and both seeing and observing. So Watson only sees the world around him. He goes just mindlessly, once again, through the motions, and he doesn't really engage. He's not present. He doesn't understand the importance of focusing on whatever is in front of him. And Holmes, on the other hand, exemplifies the observational approach, mindfulness, a presence of mind which allows you to resist distractions and to really understand what is going on at any given point in time. Letting yourself realize that you can't always jump straight into solving a problem. Instead, you have to learn to take a step back, and you have to realize that those steps back will make you more productive. They're not a waste of time. We need to embrace kind of that downtime where our brain has the time to work. Because everything that's referred to as, that eureka moment, that aha moment when we finally come to a big conclusion, that doesn't mean we've been doing nothing. Our subconscious mind has been working incredibly hard to try to make connections that our conscious mind can't make yet. But we need to give it time. So nature, for instance, has been shown to really affect our creativity. People who couldn't solve a problem after a 20-minute walk were able to solve it. People who took a 20-minute walk could solve problems much faster than those who didn't. We don't really know why this connection exists, but we know it exists. And people are trying to figure out right now what exactly is going on in the brain that will allow for nature to really have this positive effect on imagination and problem-solving ability. And you need to test. One of Holmes's mantra, when you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. So once you've gathered all of this information, once you've observed, once you've played around with all of the creative possibilities, you have to test and figure out which one is right. And you have to realize that even the improbable might be accurate. But it's really hard to do. Our brain resists doing this. So finally, when we've eliminated the impossible and we have whatever remains, however improbable, we need to remember to go back to the beginning and to keep learning. We need to update. This is a cycle. We're never really done if we're thinking scientifically. Otherwise, we become prone to overconfidence, which is something that is a problem for Holmes as well. The better we become at thinking, the more confident we are, the less likely we are to learn and to take feedback from the environment. But something that really sets Holmes apart from everyone else is his ability to take that negative feedback. Yes, he's wrong sometimes, and sometimes when he's wrong, people die, so the stakes are pretty high. But he acknowledges his errors, and he tells Watson, Watson, next time I'm overconfident, let me know. And the way that he's able to fight this is to really cultivate his inner curiosity. He realizes that learning should be fun and engaging. If you think about a child really does embody a lot of these characteristics of thought. A child is more mindful. Children really pay attention to the world. A child always asks questions. The child is always asking why this, why that. And we lose that natural curiosity as we age. We start to get annoyed. I know I start to get annoyed with kids who are asking why all the time. I want to say, I don't know why, please stop asking me. But it's really showing something very fundamental, this desire to always keep learning and to always keep bettering yourself. And this is the final thing that Holmes can teach us, that in order to stay productive and creative and mindful, you do have to keep being curious.